Hello everyone and welcome to this overview of the Gemba360 disaster management system. This has been specifically applied to the coronavirus or COVID-19 disaster and crisis that we're currently undergoing at the moment, and it is being used by a number of agencies to effectively manage their entire operations throughout this entire disaster and emergency crisis situation. The disaster system can be set up very easily on your Gemba360 dashboard, and we have a dashboard sandbox opened on the screen now. To access the disaster system, quite simply click on the button on your dashboard. You can see it here, and it will open up to this screen here. From this screen here, you can see that we can have a look at situational awareness, which covers the mapping, which I'll take you through. You can also control and look at your organizations about who's doing what, where, and when. And this covers not only your organization, but facilities, activities, and projects, which we'll go through shortly. And also looking at managing resources across your staff, your volunteers, looking at relief, and also asset tracking for your vehicles, and also other services you may deliver. You can also manage your aid requirements as well too, requests, commitments, shipments, and receive and also send shipments between sites. This whole system really allows you to centrally control from one source of truth across your entire business operations. It's obviously important when the Commonwealth Government are talking that somewhere between 20 to 30% of workforce will be affected at some stage between now and August, and they're also making plans for various business shutdowns and program services that will be affected over the upcoming months. So a number of agencies have already commenced using this system. Part of that is to actually manage the projects, but let's actually work through some of these core functions that you can use as part of your disaster management system. Firstly, one of the mapping tools is available. Now, this can be set up to identify hotspots. It can be looked at, you can see here, locations for your locations, offices, specific projects. You can also track staff, volunteers, vehicles as well too, and also look at warehousing as well. Other things directly from here that you can also see is track weather patterns, weather stations, and this is all happening in real time as well too. And you can see that this is a global world chart. And you can also look at overlay maps all in real time. But one of the key functions that we do have on this is that you can actually set location times. Now, what I mean by this is that quite simply, once you load your staff into the system, also clients as well too, volunteers, obviously with permissions from their mobile phones, we can actually track staff and ensure their safety during this time. If you wanted to find a particular staff member, or if you wanted to see, effectively you can click on this button, and what will immediately come up is the location of where that person is. You can see that this is where I am located at the moment, and equally if you wanted to drill down further, you can actually open it up directly into Street View as well. So this allows you to actually view exactly where people are at any point in time and actually identify specific hotspots as well. From here, if we go back, we can actually manage all of our organization's specific sites. And if I wanted to quite simply create an organization, you can see I've actually labeled a couple of agencies in here, but we can also place in your own agency. So let me set up a Victorian Community Health Service, and this is maybe someone that you're actually partnering with, and I'll just make this Wellbeing Service. I'm just making up a name here. We can actually look at what type of service it is as well too. I'm just going to mark it as an NGO. With it, we are required to actually put in where they're actually based. Now in this part, because this is also used in other service areas as well too, you list the area, you list the contact details that we have. In this case, I'm simply going to place it in here. Once I click on save, effectively, I've got my basic details set up. I can then also look at offices, warehouses, facilities, staff and volunteers, assets, and projects. Now, this is important because that way, if you're actually partnering with agencies in this disaster management response, it can be people like PHNs, for example, your local area hospital network. All of them can actually be involved in this disaster management system, and it may well be also coordinated through yourself. In doing that, let me just bring this back. From here, I can then look at my facilities, and I can then look at specific areas. I can set up the opening times, who the contact person is, what it does, and where it is based. Again, all of this automatically talks back to the mapping program area that I showed you before. What this allows you to do is then effectively monitor hotspots that surround that area, and also allow staff that when they enter the facilities to check in and check out as well. With it, if we look at the next part of this, and you can see that I've got these on my right-hand side, the list of agencies that we have. Now, with it, I can then also look at different projects. Now, this is a really important module here, because as part of this section, what you can do is start to identify the project, what the description is, how long it's taking, and how much time this project is taking. And you'll see when we actually get into the projects how important this is. What this allows you to do is actually track time and eventually look at costings and budget for your disaster management system. And this is all linked directly back to your staffing profile or volunteers that you may have. So let's have a look at that. Now, if I look at projects, you can see now that I've got my 3 projects, and this is something we covered in the webinar today. It follows the Commonwealth guidelines around the management of the coronavirus. I've got my initial stage of action, I've got my targeted action stage, and I've got my stand down action stage. I've got who the lead implementer is. It may be your agency, or you may be working in coordination with most likely with another agency as well. Now, if I wanted to actually look at changing, for example, one of these areas, I can quite simply go into here and I can update which agency is actually responsible for this. And I can actually update this information directly here. I'll leave it as it is for now. Equally, what I then have over here is my total funding budget for this particular stage, and what component it starts off as my total annual budget. And this is actually used as part of your governance and disaster management reporting. You have your start date and you have your end date. Each one of these can then be managed directly by each staff member. Now, the good thing about this, like the rest of the Gemba system, it doesn't matter if people are not working from one site. In fact, it works better if people are not. And this is how the system is actually designed for. So if you have, over the course of the next few weeks to 6 months, 7 months, if depending on how long this goes, the Commonwealth are talking at this stage that they're looking at past August before this gets under control, and they have some sort of contingencies plans in place to deal with this. So if that's the case, you really need to have a system that can manage this for an entire span of time. What you then have here is the start dates, end dates across the stand down stage, targeted action stage, and you can ensure that people are meeting key deliverables. Let's have a look at this. So a part of the disaster system might be to look at your initial action stage. So I want to have a look and start reporting on this. Well, now I can actually look at the basic details, what my indicators are. With this, my initial activities, which is based on the Commonwealth reporting, and this is all included in the system, that effectively sets down the 7 specific areas. And this is pulled from the Commonwealth Health Plan for managing the coronavirus. So we've got 7 key deliverables that are already in here. From here, I can then look at what the status is. I can set that. I can look at the start date, again, the end date, who the contact person is in my agency that's going to manage this. And I can now, from here, set specific indicators on what my agency is going to do in order to deliver on this specific stage of the disaster management system. I can set the indicators by simply clicking on Add Indicator, and this opens up. I can then look at my indicator data sets, which allows me to manage my target value, the actual value, and also provide comments. And again, everything is actually completely auditable at any stage. You can see I can also pull out my project summary report directly from here, and if I print that up, you can see I've got this information that automatically pulls up, and I can print that out if I need to. I can report on summary by indicator, summary by progress, and also total project progresses. And this can be pulled at any stage. You can imagine over the next few months, as you need to ramp up or ramp down services, you need to effectively have a disaster system that can effectively expand or contract depending on what your organization deliverables are. Effectively, you can then run different organizations, and you might have one. We've just put one in here that's taken the lead in this case, and effectively what the funds contributed are as well. Equally, if there are other beneficiaries, for example, clients that you may need to service during this time that are high risk, for example, people in Aboriginal communities or aged care facilities, they may well be the beneficiaries around this. We've got the milestones of exactly what you need to track and when, and then what are the activities and tasks that are going to meet this requirement. As we work through, it means that nothing ever gets missed. Now, as part of this, notifications go out to specific people before things are due. And if it's not actioned before the due date, the date that it's due, that you can see here, it'll send up an escalation email. You've then got the ability to set your annual budgets, which is critically important in terms of managing this health emergency at the moment. Plus, you've got documents, which is linked to your Gemba docs, and staff members assigned to specific groups. And you can also assign people directly from other agencies as well. And this is important as part of the collaboration across your disaster system. So from here, you can actually see that quite simply, you can actually manage your entire disaster system and also link in with other networks and give other agencies in your local catchment area access directly to your Gemba disaster system. On the right, on the left-hand side here, you can see that we can import projects. So if, and what this allows you to do is that if you have your current disaster or deeds of delegation in an Excel spreadsheet, effectively you can import this data straight into the system without having to spend the time data entering things in, which is very time consuming. If you have partner organizations, as you can see here, as I mentioned, you can actually import them completely, and whether that be linked with GP clinics, PHNs, or local area hospitals, you can bring them into this as well. And again, you can actually create summary reports directly out of this at any stage. All of this is then linked back to your mapping tool, which allows you to effectively manage this directly from a single source. So we've covered off the ability to find out who's doing what, where, and when. What we're now going to look at is managing your staff. Obviously, during a disaster, and when the Commonwealth are talking that 20 to 30% at minimum is of the workforce is going to be affected, then you need to be able to manage your staff and ensure that specific people are qualified and credentialed to deliver services at the right place and at the right time. What we have set up is some demo sites, and you can see I've got these people here. What is important, if I wanted to create a staff member's profile, I can do that directly here. You can see I've just created a couple of places here, and the organization I just created automatically comes up. If I wanted to create a profile, I can simply do that. Let's say I'm just going to create, as many of you know, Barney Rubble. I'm going to mark in a date of birth, and with that, I am just going to put in my own date of birth around this. Hope you don't mind. So with that, let me just do that now, showing who I am. Also with it, we mark up, and I'm going to put in my direct mobile phone number, which many of you already know. So here it is. With that, let me just set up my email address, and also I put in my job title. I'm just going to make myself Health Service Manager. I can start on, effectively, let me say that in this case, I'm actually going to mark that I'm scheduled to start on 1st of April, and I'm actually going to go, this is just a 1-year contract that I'm going to see through till the end of April next year. After I do that, I can see that effectively it comes up with the specific details. It's just asking me, and I'll show you why we need this. We put it in international format and simply click save. It's telling me my email address needs to be unique. So I'm just going to mark up something else. And here we go. So effectively the staff members added. Now why we had, if you see, a international phone number is because what we can do if we go back to our staffing list. Here we are here, Barney Rubble is now created, and here's the phone number. You can see directly from this that this is allows you to actually contact staff members directly. I can actually send a message by SMS directly to this person that I've just created. I can also report on this, and I can also map this out as well too to track where they are. And this is obviously switched on with the staff member's permission. So from here, I can actually track my staff wherever they are. And effectively, if I click on here, which is where we are, there I am there. So you can immediately see that I can actually get this view in terms of where we're sitting. It also means, as I mentioned, that we can directly contact people directly from the system, and it's all documented on the disaster system. So any messages, like anything in Gemba, I can effectively track directly from here. It also means that if I needed to, I can do exactly the same thing for volunteers. Now, the volunteers, which is an important cohort, I can then also do in exactly the same way and set these up for people as well. So my staffing profile for staff, volunteers, and clients is managed in exactly the same way. I'm able to effectively send messages as a group to staff, as a group to volunteers, inform clients, and it's important from a disaster management system to be able to communicate effectively with agencies. The other part I wanted to show you was around warehousing. Now you can see here that we can actually manage all of our stocks, not only from a central warehouse, but also within each facility as well. And this allows me to look at the warehouse stock, expiration dates if I needed those. I can look at summary of incoming supplies. So for example, if there was movement of consumables from a hospital to a dental clinic that I was running, I'll be able to effectively manage that directly from here. I could also create incoming shipments and look at timelines as well too. Now, the other important part that agencies need is around assets. Now, assets, which we have up here, is things like your vehicles, and you can also track your vehicles of where they are at any time and who has them. Again, if you have this information in an Excel spreadsheet, again, this can be simply imported as well. And again, from an asset tracking point of view, this allows you to manage all of your vehicles too. Other parts that we have on this is the ability to manage aid and also client information as well. Now, in terms of requests, what we can do from here is actually look at recurring requests, create a request for what's required by a facility. So if a facility that you have, it might be an aged care facility, requires stock or requires information or requires documents that you might need, this is the table that you can centrally record and manage all of your stock and transit. It also means from here that you can fulfill the status, you can look at drivers, you can also track what your local driver is, as I showed you before, by looking at your assets, and also communicate directly with the driver. So for example, there may well be a situation where you have a vehicle that you're tracking and it's traveling from one location to another. At the same time, you get a request in for supplies to be picked up because you're needing it for your aged care facility. If that's the case, you're able to then contact the driver directly from this dashboard and also get them to complete it and fill it in. What that means, it's also just valuable to be able to manage your resources effectively. Equally, you can also then look at commitments as well too. You can also from here manage shipments and receive shipments as well. So as you can see, across this whole system, you're able to manage your entire operations from simply anywhere. As Gemba is a complete disaster management system, it is 100% mobile, which many of you already use it for. Other parts that we have included in this is also the ability to link your email system in and also look at other health analytics tools, which you can see on this dashboard. As I said, we are rolling this out across the Gemba360 agencies group. If you do have any questions, by all means, please contact me directly on 1300 360 360 or email me at support@gemba360.com. I look forward to speaking with you soon. As I said, this is an incredibly important module that a lot of agencies have picked up on, and it will make life easier for you to manage all of your systems and operations in the upcoming months. As I said, if you do have any questions, please contact me directly on 1300 360 360 or directly by email at support@gemba360.com. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Bye for now.